Okay, welcome to EDU 5523 PGCHETL. Okay, this is part A, contextualize your teaching. So for part A, currently what course do you teach, and at its core, what is the course all about? So if you are teaching more than one course, just choose one. Now the meaning of core is, for example here, for statistic, core learning stats is to make sense of the different data. So what is the basic idea of learning that particular course or subject? And for chemistry, for example here, the core of learning chemistry is to make sense of how the different elements combine to produce compounds with certain properties that comes from the elements that combine. So if you're teaching biosciences, biotechnology, you're teaching engineering, you're teaching computing, so what's the core of that particular course? Now for A2, where do you teach and what is its mission and vision? Okay, this is for you to find the mission and mission of the institution, as well as the story behind the vision and the mission. Once you understand the story behind the vision and also the mission, then you will understand how you can contribute to the mission and also the vision of your institution. Now for A3, what do this mission and vision mean to you? Do you subscribe to them, or do you think otherwise? How do you see your role, if any, in this mission and vision? So over here you need to elaborate whether you agree or disagree, and if you disagree you can state why. Okay, and how do you see yourself contributing to the mission and also vision to make it happen? How can you make it happen? Okay, for A4, what program do you teach? In your own words, describe the program. Personally, what do you think of the program from an educational standpoint? Now, this is going down to your program, so you might want to take a look at the program booklet where you have the program outcomes, and you can describe from your program outcomes whether you think what you think of the program from an educational standpoint, right? So you need to describe the program, you need to describe the program learning outcome, whether it's achievable, and so on and so forth. Okay, A5, who are your learners in terms of their educational background and the approach to learning they typically adopt? Okay, so here actually referring to the learner's experience. So you have to look at your learners. Where do they come from, and what kind of educational background do they have? Urban, suburban, and rural areas, that's one. The other one is developing country, developed country, and also whether it is Asian countries or the Gulf area or the American continent, and so on and so forth. So you have to look at the different educational background and also experience, and how do they approach learning. Some countries, they memorize a lot. They do not know how to solve problems. Some countries, they solve problems through problem-based learning, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have to look at the different approach to their learning, and what kind of learning that they normally used to. Now in A6, reflecting on what you have learned in EDU 5023 and looking back at how you typically teach, How would you categorize or classify your teaching approach? What do you think of this approach and why? Okay, this is from the pedagogical standpoint. So you have to look back at the EDU 5023 that you have learned prior to this course, and then rethink. Okay, look back at how do you classify your teaching approach. Are you using student-centered approach? Are you using a teacher-centered approach? Do you adopt constructivism in your teaching approach, or you mainly use one size fits all, meaning that all those kind of approaches? And what do you think of this approach and why? Okay, do you think that is suitable for your course? Why? Okay, so you say student-centered learning is not suitable for your course. Why? If it's suitable for your course, also state the reason why. Now, the last part for part A is A7. What habits of learning do you think you have cultivated in your students using this approach? Do you think you have cultivated these approaches? These habits. So for that, you have to explain in 300 words. What habits of learning do you think you have cultivated in your students using this approach? So if, let's say, for example, you're using teacher-centered, what type of approach, what type of habits of learning have you cultivated? Meaning to say that you might have cultivated memorizing facts, regurgitating facts during exam, not thinking of solving problem, for example. Okay, so you state your case here, and that's the end of part A.